Time for a bit of Jim Does SuperCoach. NBA Supercoach week 13 is ahead of us. And what a week 12 it was. I'll tell you what, carnage everywhere for me. I don't know how you guys went, let us know. But what we all learned was that, of course, a 400-year-old LeBron James would play all 5 of the Lakers games this week, and Luka would miss one. What are we doing? Anyway, today's show, we'll just quickly talk through some trade targets, some cash cows, and the schedule, which is a really important one over the next few weeks, obviously. How did I go this week? I landed a 902, which was not good enough. I think I landed top 7% for the week, but that dropped me 89 spots overall down to 586. Brutal gear. Mostly because Denny Avdia last week before, he hurt his back. And he's like, I'm fine. Never listen to the players. There's a lesson to be learned there. He sat out like a couple of games, came back at the very end of the week, chucked in a 37, and you're like, well, that's great, because now that just sinks your price a bit for me, and you've got a 2-game week this week. So thanks a lot, Denny. The old Ute master. Jalen Johnson also had a stinker, missed a couple of games. AO didn't quite go off. Luka still had 128 or whatever it was, which was really good. Had the captaincy on him. But yeah, with LeBron playing all 5 games, he actually was your top scorer across the week with 154. Not bad. Jamal Murray had 127. Not bad as well. DeAndre Ayton played the perfect game. He ends up with 115 for the week. Vooch popped in with 114 too. So either way, look, I think a couple of things that I actually did. Having Luka was good. LB Şengün popped into my team for the week, scored 110. He's got a 3-game week this week. I'm probably going to keep him as well because he's got 4-game weeks the following couple. So keep an eye on LP. He's been really, really, really handy as well. But otherwise, I think this is the biggest thing this week for NBA Supercoach is quite simply, as always, proceed with caution. Check how many games your players have. And this week, it's a really, really interesting schedule because we've got another team that's got 5 games. And as we've sort of learned, proceed with caution of like automatically getting them in. 5 games in 7 days is a lot for an NBA player to actually play. And we'll get to that in a second. But speaking of which, injuries. Quick injury update for where we're sitting at the moment. Cooper Flagg is on a lot of folks, either teams or on their bench. He's still sitting on my bench. With 4 games this week as well, Dallas, he tweaked an ankle. He's missed a couple of games. He's questionable for Tuesday's game against the New York City Knickerbockers of New York City. So is Jalen Brunson, the point guard for the Knicks. Interesting. J-Dub, Jalen Williams is out now for OKC. Interesting one for SGA and for Chet Holmgren as well, right? I think they're both in line for pretty hefty scores, so they don't have to think about J-Dub. So keeping SGA handily in my team. Darius Garland is out for another week with his toe sprain, essentially. So I feel pretty good about Donovan Mitchell. He's already on my team. They've got 4 games this week. Devin Booker is another interesting one. I've looked at bringing him in this week, but is also questionable for the first game of Phoenix's run this week, right? I think they play Brooklyn. Probably not a bad idea to give Devin Booker the night off if he's feeling questionable coming back from his ankle tweak as well. So proceed with caution again with Devin Booker. Dyson Daniels was out today. I wonder if they sort of sit him for another game. The other big one is Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard out for the next 2 games with knee irritation at the end of this Clippers road trip. So if you're thinking about jumping onto the Kawhi bandwagon, he's been playing awesome. Pump the brakes. Just saying, pump the brakes. James Harden makes it a pretty interesting case there with a 4-game week for the Clippers, but I don't know if I can trust him. He might just throw up a stinker here or there. So really, with those sort of injury questions in mind, it's getting pretty, thin on the ground in some places, right? And I think what we're looking at this week, the biggest question we're all sort of staring at is 5 games for the Miami Heat. One of the remaining injury questions is Tyler, there goes my hero, who is out, right? So you've got this gun shooting guard. He's at a really good price, but he's out. Didn't travel with the team at all as well. So he's at least out for the first game of this 5-game road trip that the Heat are on, all of which happened in this 1 week. Again, we'll talk about this in a sec. So Tyler Hero's gone. That really helps Norm Powell's value, I think. And I think it really, really means that Bam Adebayo will also continue to have like a really, really heavy workload. So the big question everyone is sort of looking at, right, is do we bring in Bam on a 5-game schedule? And I kind of am on board with it, right? Because I think if you look at the way that Bam has played over the years, he doesn't miss too many games. He doesn't mind a back-to-back. And they kind of don't have too many other options. I think it's a bit of a risk, as we saw with Luka this week. But the risk is somewhat mitigated by the fact that Bam's price is around the 13 mil mark. And even if he misses one game, you're still going to get 4 games of Bam with a pretty high usage rate. And he has really turned a corner in the last week. He just really, really sort of struggled since around before Christmas. And then went whack and returned with a vengeance the other day. I think he ripped off a 29, 9 and 4, 22, 4 and 5, and a 30, 12 and 4 in his last 3 games. So I'm going to jump on Bam because even if he does have the 4 games rather than the 5, he's still like got a fairly high upside at that 13.4 mil price point. He managed 94 in that 3-game week last week. So just saying, I feel pretty good about Bam. I was actually looking at this as like, ooh, do I get a 4-game Victor Wembanyama or a 5-game Bam? And then I went, why not both? I've just gone hammer and tongs. I've got a boost up my sleeve that I've used this week as well. So we'll talk about the trades I'm going to make in a second. But most of all, I mean, I think the 5-game stuff it can be tricky, but we saw LeBron play all 5 games. We've seen Norm Powell, Bam Adebayo, they're pretty reliable. They're probably the 2 dudes on Miami that I'd actually sort of be okay with trading in this week. The thing with Norm, I think he's a pretty good POD. I don't know if he's got the chaos upside of someone like Jamal Murray or Davion Mitchell or Jaylen Brown, other folks that you can slot into your shooting guard spot. But I feel like I might prefer him on a 5-game week, even more so than like Harden without Kawhi. So keep an eye on that. Anyway, the other stuff that sort of happened this week, we could also look at, I don't know, some of the busts, obviously Cooper Flagg getting injured, having 41 points. VJ Edgecombe only managed 50, bit of a rough one there. 55 for Ace Bailey. He's still in 30% of teams. At least he's sort of turning a bit of a corner. If you kept Connie Nips, Con Knipple, he had a pretty solid week, 97 as the Hornets played a couple of really, really fun games. And outside of that, I mean, Wemby had 85. A couple of ones that are sort of sticking in the Dylan Harper, sort of Stephon Castle. I was expecting a lot more from both of them in the last few weeks, and it just hasn't really eventuated. I've got Dylan Harper sitting on my bench. He managed 36 this week, just wasn't very good. Anthony Edwards went off for 55 points. He managed only 44 Supercoach points for the week. 42 for Giannis, 41 for Jalen Johnson. It's just brutal out there. So, again, proceed carefully. In terms of the actual cash cows this week, there's a couple of interesting names, mainly Bryce Sensabaugh, who's just been going absolutely off his head for the Utah Jazz. He's got a break even to -1. He managed 98 last week. So if you can slot him into one of your small forward, power forward bench spots, I'd definitely be looking at that. He's priced at 7.3 mil. He's going to skyrocket up in price. And that sort of can get you, if he can sort of eke out maybe another 2 mil out of Bryce Sensabaugh over the next couple of weeks, you'd be laughing if he can sort of really keep it up. It feels a little bit boom-busty. Sensabaugh, though, at least has, the Jazz coaching staff's trust. He just don't know about the output sometimes. He can have a rough shooting night. He can be awesome sometimes. Bit of a tricky one, but he's still not a bad roll of the dice for your bench as a bit of a cash cow. Maxime Renaud and the sort of battery, I guess, of Sacramento bigs. They're pretty, Dylan Cardwell, he's got a break even of 15. He's priced at 5.9 mil, but I still think Maxime Renaud, they've got Precious Achua there as well. Sabonis came back this week, so he has been coming off the bench. You expect Maxime to slide back to a bench role probably at some point this week. He's got a bit of a tough break even. Cardwell, though, I think then drops back further down the depth chart. Probably doesn't play. He managed 64 this week, so the break even's not too bad at 15. They've got 4 games, so he'll play. He'll probably hit that. So if you do need a cheapy center, Cardwell's not a bad one. Danny Wolf is the other one, big one for me. I've been banging on about him literally for the last couple of months, and he's sort of now turning the corner, putting up some half-decent, consistent scores, so I appreciate that from him. But I think Maxime Renault, his break-even is 69, so if you want to jump off this week, 4 games to get to 69, it's not crazy out of the realm of possibility that he hits the 70. He had 46 last week. He has these random games where he can go off. I think in the way that my trades have worked this week, I probably have him still as my backup big, but either way, not too bad. The other sort of break-even sort of cash cow guys that you might want to look at, it's a pretty sparse group this week, right? Because you got the Panda, Noah Panda for Orlando, as he only managed 19 last week, so his break-even is minus 14. So he'll make a little bit of money, but he's still at 5.3. Caleb Love is the really, really interesting one for me, right? He should be a trade target, I think, at 6.3 mil. He's been going off. He's super consistent now as well. He managed 56 last week, break even of 8. He's in that sort of shooting guard, point guard position where I think if you've got someone like Dylan, he's been substantially more sort of consistent and efficient, which is a big thing when it comes to Supercoach, obviously, than someone like Dylan Harper. So, yeah, if you've got that trade to spare, Caleb Love is one to keep an eye on. Otherwise, no other real names are really jumping out outside of Sensabar and Co. Johan Barangay, he managed 43 this week as well. He's got a break even to minus 4, 3.9 mil. Not a bad downgrade target, I reckon, as they try to sort of work the young French rookie into that rotation there in Minnesota. Dwight Powell's the other really, really good one because they've got no bigs left in Dallas. Anthony Davis out. Dan Gafford out. Derek Lively out. He managed a 68, break even of minus 8. Dwight Powell should be your backup big if you want to downgrade from Maxime Renault or anyone else you've got there. It's a good one because he'll just play. He's not going to put up huge scores, but he'll make you a little bit of cash. So, trade targets for week 13. Who are we all looking at? Well, it's all down to the schedule, isn't it? Always down to the schedule. We have the one team with 5 games, the Miami Heat. As we saw this week, it can be pretty tricky to sort of like go, oh, well, he's definitely going to play all 5. The fact that it was LeBron is pretty funny. Luka played 4, still scored really, really well, but I mean, it certainly didn't hurt. My team having 128 from Luka on there is the second highest scorer for the week. But anyway, so Miami, Norm Powell, bam. They're the 2 guys I'm looking at from there. There are 16 teams, I believe, this week with 4 games. So that's Boston, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, Detroit basketball, Golden State, Clippers, Milwaukee, OKC, Philly, Phoenix, San Antonio, Sacramento, Toronto, and Utah. So for Boston, Peyton Pritchard sort of in and out of the squad at the moment. Jaylen Brown is absolute lock and load trade target for me for Boston. Brooklyn, you're looking at the young dudes like Danny Wolf as a good backup big who's just going to keep playing. Michael Porter Jr. missed a game last week. I think as we head towards the trade deadline, they might sort of like just keep showcasing him here or there, and then maybe just sort of like give him a day off here or there as well. So I'm tread carefully, I reckon, around Michael Porter Jr. Claxton, sure, if you've got him in your team, good on you. Cleveland, Donnie Mitchell and Evan Mobley have been really, really good. Donnie Mitchell, I think, is set up without Garland there to go whack over the next few days. If you've still got Jalen Tyson as well, he's been really, really good. If you've got him, smart move. Dallas, look, Flag might be back tomorrow against the Knicks. Love that if he is. Otherwise, Dwight Powell, get him in. The rest of the team is so bereft. Detroit, that's Cade Cunningham. The thing is, he's been dealing with a wrist contusion. Detroit have a handy kind of schedule this week, but I think Boston's is a little bit nicer. So I think I'm going to go with Jaylen Brown instead of Cade Cunningham. I still think Cade can put up some really, really solid numbers. Jalen Duren as well. But I feel like Cade, they might just be a little bit careful with his wrist because you don't want to hurt the Ferrari, This is the Motor City. You got to look after the shiny brand new one in the garage. So I think Cade, if you can afford him and you've got a little bit of cash in the bank, he's still a really good option this week. I think I was a little bit under. I got to the point where I still had like 17.7 mil for my last shooting guard spot. And I think I'm going to go with your man Jamal Murray, who's on Denver. That's up next. They've got 4 games this week. I feel okay about that. They've got 4 games the following week as well. So it's a bit of a lock and load. I'll get to those teams in a second. Golden State, Steph is always just on one. He's fine. Everybody else is a little bit how you going. Clippers, as I said, Harden because no Kawhi. Milwaukee, if you're going to get Giannis in, get him in. He's going to put up your numbers. Don't worry about that. I think as they sort of push towards the trade deadline as well, they will keep playing Giannis as much as they can. They just need to win. That's all Milwaukee need to do. They just can't do it. OKC, SGA, Chet. Chet's a really interesting pod, and I think if you look at the way they utilize him when J-Dub's not there, I'd feel pretty good about it. So I'd probably certainly kick the tires on Chet at 15.4 mil. He's got a break even at 95 this week. He put up 20, 37, and 28 the last 3 games. So I reckon he's a pretty interesting one this week. But anyway, Philly, that's your Maxi. VJ, roll the dice on VJ if you want. Embiid, probably steer clear just because of all the rest that he'll get. Phoenix, Booker, as I mentioned, a bit of a question mark for that first game of the week. And they'll probably sort of keep him on cotton wool as much as possible so he doesn't tweak that ankle again. San Antonio, I'm probably going to get Wemby in. Stephon Castle is still breaking my heart. Just going to monitor him, if nothing else. Sacramento! I'm steering clear of all of them. They stink. Toronto! I've still got Scotty Barnes in for one more week, and then I think their schedule turns a little bit. In the next few weeks, they have like 3-game weeks coming out the wazoo, I reckon. Toronto, I've got this, and then they've got 5 straight weeks of 3 games. So, yeah, you can get rid of Scotty Barnes next week. But otherwise, if you've got Brandon Ingram, he's still not a bad option this week. And Utah, Larry Markkinen. This is the tough one with these tanking teams. It's like Keontae George is looking really, really good. Will they play him every game? Maybe. Larry Markkinen, same sort of vibe. So just tread carefully, I think, with the tankers. So those are the 16 teams with 4 games this week, the trade targets. There's 9 teams with 4 games this week and next week. And they're the ones that I'm really, really targeting for my players. Apart from Wemby, just because I think the upside for Wemby on a 4-game week this week and then being able to trade him out at that giant price point for anybody else that you sort of might want to look at from, the teams that have got 4 next week, you're okay. He's a fine bridge that you can trade in and out if you need to. Boston have the 4 games. That's why across the 2 weeks, in fact, they've got 12 across the next 3 weeks. So that's why I'm locking and loading Jaylen Brown. Brooklyn, Cleveland, Donnie Mitchell, lock and load. Denver, Jamal Murray, lock and load. Detroit, Kate Cunningham, slap him in there. Philly, Maxey is just, I love having him on my team. Booker and the Phoenix Suns, that's the trickier one. Probably steer clear of that. Sacramento and Utah, as I mentioned, proceed with caution. Utah, Keontae George is probably fine, but he's still a little bit of a roller coaster. So there's 2 teams with 12 games over the next 3 weeks as well. So that's Boston and Philly. So if you've got Maxey, you got Jaylen Brown, they're 2 spots you don't have to worry about for 3 weeks. That's awesome, right? And then we get to like the random, I think that gets you through to the round 16, which covers All-Star break, which is like 2 weeks. So Boston, Philly, with those 12 maximum games, I feel pretty good about that. So the flip side, who are we avoiding this week? It's Orlando and Portland with 2 games, which is, brutal. I'll tell you, having Denny go out again, and he's got a 4-game week next week. Denny might come straight back in for me this week. I don't know. But round 14 has a lot of teams on 4-game weeks. So that's why I feel okay about Wemby in for 4 games this week, because with so many teams with 4 games next week, bang, he can just go straight back out again. So I think that's where I'm at, right? I think some of my favorite trade targets this week are obviously Jaylen Brown and Tyrese Maxey. If you don't have them in, the maximum amount of games really this week, the next 3 weeks, lock and load, forget about them. Wemby's a really good trade in target, I think, this week. I think they've got a really good schedule as well, off the top of my head. Let's have a look. Because, I mean, Wemby, I think there's a back-to-back in there for Wemby, but he has been playing the back-to-backs, especially one where he came off the bench. And so they've got Utah, Houston, Utah again, and then the Pelicans. So 2 games against Utah. I feel pretty good about that for Spurs. I'd be getting Wemby in. I'm probably going to throw the C on him as well. It's a little bit of a risk just in case he misses one of those. Whereas SGA plays every game. OKC, his usage rate is still going to be through the roof. I just kind of think that Wemby's upside, like he had 39 the other day against 39 points against the Wolves the other day, and scored 39 Supercoach points as well, but he can absolutely go whack. His highest score against Utah, for instance, is 47. So anyway, Bam is the other one for me. I'm going to get him into with the 5-game week. It's hard not to. So I love him, love on that one. So I think that's about where I'm at. I think my trades, what I've got is Jamal Murray coming in, Wemby, Jaylen Brown, and Bam. So I'm using a boost, but that's 4 pretty awesome names, all with 4 games. Out goes Jalen Johnson, Denny Avdia. Luka goes back out with the Lakers on a 3-game week. It's fine, but I'd rather have any of those guys that I'm bringing in on a 4-game week. And Ayo Dosunmu, who was an interesting little swing. He was fine as sort of like a guy that I had just sitting there for that 1 week and didn't quite, put up the massive numbers I was hoping for, but you get that on the big job sometimes, don't you? Yes, Jim, you do. So I think with that in mind, Bam, Jaylen Brown, Wemby, Murray, I feel pretty good about this team this week. So I've got SGA, Maxey as my point guards, Jamal Murray, Donnie Mitchell at shooting guard, Wemby in the center, Scotty Barnes, Jaylen Brown, both on 4 games. So all of those have got 4 games. My power forwards are only playing 3. Well, Şengün's only got the 3 games. I'll put Cooper Flag on the court, I think, rather than Derek Queen. Queen's got the 3 games, but if Cooper Flag plays all 4, if he plays tomorrow, we'll find that out tomorrow morning. So I'll be on tenterhooks all over the news, figuring out if Flag is going to play and then making the switch on my bench for Queen or Flag on court. And then Bam in the flex. So I think he'll go off. Should be a good one. I think I'll throw the C on Wemby, VC on SGA. But Maxey was another one that I looked at. It's probably an interesting POD because we have seen Maxey go absolutely off. But I think the top end scoring of Maxey, he's ripping off I think 3 of his last 4 games, he's gone for 34 Supercoach points, which is obviously awesome. But there was that stretch where he'd be ripping off 40s with pretty disturbing regularity where Embiid's out, Paul George was out. With Paul George, Embiid, VJ, all in the mix, it's like he's doing a very, very good job. He's very, very consistent, but I think the top end, huge, go off your head kind of scoring might not be there. So I'm probably going to stick the C on Wemby because I still think the 4 games of Wemby versus 5 games of Bam, he still might outscore him if he plays all 4. And if Bam misses one of those games, you're kind of sitting there going, oh, I've got my captaincy on Bam Adebayo playing 4 games. Even if he's playing really, really well, the 4 might not match up exactly to Wemby. So, as I said, Bam, those 3 games that he's just gone absolutely off his head the last week, he scored 42, 18, and 34. So it's pretty good, right? Wemby, though, as I said, with the 2 games against Utah, a game against Houston and LP Şengün, and no Steven Adams because he's out with an ankle injury, so it makes it a little bit easy for that center rotation. And then against the Pelicans, an undersized Pelicans team, I feel like Wemby could eat. So I am going to go Wemby. But that's it. There you go. Week 12 in the bag. Week 13 upcoming. Hopefully you're listening to NBA Straya. If you're not, go and do that. Do yourself a favor. In the meantime, make sure you're following NBA Straya and Jim Does SuperCoach across all of the socials. What is it? Twitter, Facey, IG, TikTok. I think we pop up on the TikTok and YouTube through NBA Australia, so go check it all out. Get around NFL Australia as well with myself and Gaz. The NFL Supercoach year has been awesome. We've got a big Supercoach party happening at the Catfish in Melbourne. If you want to come hang out with us, that's what we do each year. It's really fun. Chuck us a rating review on your podcast app as well. If you're listening to Jim Does SuperCoach and you like what we're doing, let us know. Rate, review, star, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit us up. Any any questions you want me to answer, send them through each week. Have a crack, get involved. I got nothing better to do. But that's it. Big thanks to Joshua De Laurentiis for the intro and outro song. This has been Jim Does SuperCoach. Let's try to crack into that top 500 again. I can't believe I've dropped out of the 500. It's breaking my heart. We're going to go upwards. To the moon, baby! To the moon! Woo! Right, here's to a big week 13. Happy SuperCoaching.